Hi guys and welcome back. So far on the channel we've looked at anime fights from shows such as BAKI, Kenshiro, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, more recently Hajime no Ippo, and today we're looking at the one and only Fist of the North Star. And if you have any more anime suggestions, please leave those down in the comments below. My name's Dr. Maddie, I'm a doctor from the UK. Please give this video a like if you enjoy my channel, but without further ado, let's begin. Okay, wait a second. How the hell does a flying kick cause this type of injury? I'm assuming that he's collapsed here because he's torn the tendons in his elbows and knees. Now, you can imagine tendons as anchors that anchor the muscles to your bones. And muscles need to be attached to bones to allow you to stand upright and to move. Otherwise, they'd just be pieces of meat. And although tendons aren't really that deep in the tissues, I can't see any blade here that would have cut them. But let's say for argument's sake that this was a real injury, you definitely need surgery to reattach those tendons.
Yuria, 俺は愛していると言ってみろ。こう、それほど言いたくないのか。
And I don't know whether this is due to Kenshiro having very weak and undertrained pecs, or whether this is due to Shin just having extremely strong fingers. But for argument's sake, let's say that this was real. Forcing your fingers through into somebody's chest would definitely cause one of the lungs to collapse in what we would call a pneumothorax. This scene gives a whole new meaning to the term giving someone the finger.
殺すなら早く殺せ。よかろう、殺してやる。死ね！死ね！
God! 4 fingers into the abdomen. They should call this Finger of the North Star. But with this type of injury, you'd be looking at a perforated bowel, perforated intestine, and possible perforated stomach. Kenshiro, you're going to need rush to surgery to survive this one.
よせ！ユリア！
愛します。
You know, this scene really reminds me of the JoJo Bizarre Adventure anime, with the Shin character playing Dio and the Kenshiro character playing Jonathan Joestar. I seem to remember in part 1 of JoJo that Dio even attempts to steal Jonathan's girlfriend, much like in this. Was Araki inspired by Fist of the North Star?
女の心変わりとは恐ろしいものよの。ユリア、この男はすでに屍だ。ユリア、出発だ。
Again, just looking at Shin in this scene with him laughing is very reminiscent of Dio. I mean, even his hair is blonde, and if we look at Kenshiro, he looks just like Jonathan Joestar. But seemingly, regardless of all of this, they're going to leave Kenshiro to bleed out and die in the desert. And with injuries like that, he's unlikely to last long.
ざまあないぞ、ケンシロウ。俺が今日から北斗神拳の伝承者だ。兄より優れた弟などいるか！
And there we go, Kenshiro is thrown off a cliff to his death by his older brother, Jagi. And really, it doesn't look like there's any way of Kenshiro surviving this fall. The drop looks over 100 feet. In fact, on this matter, medical textbooks state that the median lethal distance of a fall is 4 stories, or 48 foot. This means that 50% of people who fall from 4 stories die. The chance of death increases further to 90% when the fall is greater than 7 stories, or 84 foot. Now, most people who fall from this height die from a fracture to the top of the spine, where it transects the aorta. This is the main blood vessel coming out of the heart, and people subsequently bleed to death. Good luck surviving this one, Kenshiro. and nothing like an anime montage to help revive a character. Seemingly, Kenshiro's survival doesn't need explaining, and I guess we'll just put this under plot armor. And I don't know how much time has elapsed from his fall all the way through till now, but seemingly he's been able to grow a great Sylvester Stallone beard. But the way he's gotten up from that bed, causing it to shatter, you wonder whether he's taken a leaf out of Baki's textbook and developed a demon back.
誰だ俺様に石を食わせたやつはやろういい度胸してるじゃねえか
And I love the way he's one punch killing everyone in this scene. It's very reminiscent of the old Seagal movies. I remember from many of Seagal's movies he'd be performing martial arts which would have a disproportionate impact on his opponents. And this is a classic head-exploding technique that Fist of the North Star is known for. And this is probably what spontaneous internal combustion would look like, if it were a real thing, that is. But I guess in this case, as it's caused by Kung Fu, if we were to confirm their deaths, we'd call it Kung Fu-induced internal combustion. But it also kind of reminds me of the 5-palm exploding heart technique from Kill Bill. I'm guessing a lot of martial arts media drew inspiration from this anime.
おい、その子を離せ。
こんなガキひねりつぶしてやる
And here we go, and it looks like Kenshiro is getting the muscle pump of a lifetime. But do you know the science behind why you get a pump when you work out? A muscle pump occurs when fluid, including water and blood, accumulate in your muscles during movement. And this happens in response to 2 potential triggers. 1, lactic acid builds up in your working muscles, and this draws water into them. And 2, your heart pumps more blood around your body, specifically to your muscles, to provide them with more oxygen and nutrients to power them. And ultimately, it's this surge in fluid through into your muscle cells that cause them to swell and make your biceps appear bigger. And what on earth is that? How is he able to achieve such a high pitch with his voice? I mean, with the amount of testosterone that must be surging around his body, this must be near impossible. I think this is one of Kenshiro's most impressive feats so far.
お前はもう死んでいる。
何もう
And again, what a badass line. And we see here another exploding head technique. But why does the animation quality drop so much in this scene? It reminds me of some of the movies from the 80s where they'd be using practical effects instead of CGI. I remember in those movies it was so obviously fake, but I can't understand why they've made that choice in this anime.
その名を北斗神拳一見に全エネルギーを集中し肉体の経絡飛行に衝撃を与え表面の破壊をむしろ内部の破壊を極意とした
And of course, that's how Kenshiro would shave his face, revealing one of the most handsome faces in anime. But it's interesting how they explain away his fighting style, forcing energy into your opponent, causing them to explode. And of course, you don't need a doctor to tell you that this isn't possible. But don't try this at home.
俺か。俺はレイ。なんと水長剣のレイだ。女の格好をしてりゃ貴様らのようなウジ虫どもがすぐ飛びついてきやがる。
And if it isn't Ponolive making a guest star appearance. I mean, it's either him or it's this guy. Please tell me that you're seeing this too and it's not just me.
おい、忘れ物だ。
Oh, guys, I'm sorry, but this is just too much. I mean, he's only gone and disarmed the man. And I love the way the character actually goes to grab his arms without recognizing that they've been amputated. But I guess you're wondering, can these arms be reattached? Well, if they've been cut this cleanly, of course there is a chance. I mean, we have patients out there who get limb transplantations, so of course anything is possible. They just need to make sure they put the right arm on the right side.
のこで引くと気持ちがいいの。
うわ、そうや、すっきりするぜ。おかしいな。
どうだ、すっきりしたか。
バカ。
Oh god, and some of the dialogue in this anime is criminal. Does sawing your head off feel good? Of course, it's a great way to relax. It's interestingly though that Ray unintentionally is performing a medical procedure, one which we would call a corpus colectomy. It's actually used to separate the two hemispheres in the brain in patients with treatment refractory epilepsy. Of course, the difference when a doctor performs it is that he's not using a hacksaw. And these guys are getting cut up like a chip cutter, and it kind of reminds me of Dorian using fish wire to cut up his opponents in the BAKI series. And I have to say, it looks like Ray has a real promising future as a surgeon. He's seen later cutting up patients, producing jigsaws out of their bodies. But I'll give this one to you as the audience. How would you describe this cause of death? Let me know down below in the comments, and those that give the best answer I'll give a shout out to in my next video.
Hokuto Shinken.
教えてやろう。こいつの名はジャギ。俺がかつて兄と呼んだ男だ。
And so this statue is that of Jagi, Kenshiro's older brother, and it looks as though he's impersonating Kenshiro with having the 7 wounds on his chest, but he's wearing a helmet so not to reveal his true identity. And of course, below that helmet he's massively disfigured from a previous encounter he had with Kenshiro. Interestingly, Jagi in that scene was able to counter the effects of Kenshiro's fighting style by pressing in his own trigger points. And this kind of reminds me of the science of acupuncture. Now, the science behind acupuncture isn't fully understood, but it's thought that it stimulates our sensory nerves under the skin and in your muscles, leading to the release of natural substances like endorphins, which can give pain-relieving qualities. I'm not saying that acupuncture can lead to your head exploding, and don't be put off of acupuncture because of this anime.
ジャギ様に君の命をいただくよう命令されましてね。
俺がやろうか。
無用だ。北斗神拳は無敵だ。
Now this is definitely a JoJo reference. I'm 90% sure that I've seen this pose before in one of the openings of the JoJo series.
バカめ。何かね今のは。
God! Okay, so I see that this is completely unrealistic, and this type of injury is just out of this world. But let's try to make sense of what might be going on here, or what the artist is trying to portray. And to me, as a doctor, the closest thing that this resembles is something like a strangulated hernia. Now, a hernia is where you get part of the intestine that protrudes through a weakness in the abdominal wall muscle. And what can happen is if too much of the intestine goes through this weakness in the abdominal wall muscle, it can get strangulated and caught, and as a result explode out onto the skin surface. Now maybe that was Kenshiro's plan all along, punching the abdomen to cause a weakness in the muscle, thereby leading the intestines to rush out of that weakness and explode.
そうだ。お前の両親を殺し、愛理を奪った7つの傷の男だ。
Jagi sounds like a cross between Darth Vader and someone suffering from emphysema, and I'm guessing that's as a result of the injuries he sustained when fighting Kenshiro earlier on.
ような奴を認められるか。
これが兄に対する言葉か。よかろう。お前と一対一で決着をつけてやる。
ね、貴様は死ぬべきだ。
Okay, we're going to leave it there for today, and we're going to continue with more Fist of the North Star in my next video. But to keep you entertained between now and then, you may want to check out one of these two videos. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.